What's up, wrestling card collectors, memorabilia collectors, anything wrestling? It feels like we're kind of going all over the place now with wrestling, memorabilia, and collectibles now, Paul. But we've got a hot topic episode today for you. I think it's going to have some conversations here when we post this up on social media eventually. We're going to be talking about an oversaturation of autographs and high-end cards in the market right now, right, Paul?
Yeah, and specifically, The Undertaker was the one over the Panini era that people started complaining about. But now with all the Rock signings in Chrome, right? We had Dwayne Johnson's. Now all of a sudden there's so many of them. I wanted to raise the point at the beginning of the year when Topps Chrome came out, we saw the Superfractor Rock, and right away it was hailed as a new successor. This is the one that's going to bump the Hogan $132,000 off of his perch. Now, you and I both know that that 132 is going to be beaten eventually, but it ain't going to be
Of
by one
course.
of these rock chromes. And one of the reasons, and it's not rocket science, it's quite clear, is that there's a lot of them. And my question to you, sir, is are there too many of them? When you go down the list of everything that's sold, there's a lot. You got the inscription stuff, you got the superfractors, you got this sign, that sign, and they're doing phenomenally well. Four figures, 3 grand, 4 grand, 5 grand, but a far cry from six figures, right? And my question
Yeah.
is if they keep cranking them out like this, are we ever going to get to a six-figure rock or any autograph for that matter? And you and I both know, like, we got a big auction coming this summer that's going to blow the roof off the wrestling card hobby. Um,
Yep.
what are your thoughts on that? Have they made too many of them?
In full transparency, I was one of those guys that thought there was a potential as well. So you can go back and watch old videos where I thought that was possible. But that was also with, I'm going to fully admit, a bit limited knowledge on the number of autograph cards
Correct.
are being
We had
done.
no
I was
idea.
kind of led to believe that the one of ones and things like that were going to be super limited. But we come to find out that with not only with the different levels of cards that are available in the Topps Chrome set. Not only the base, but then this level of insert and that insert and this insert, everything has a one of one.
Yeah,
Everything. And then you factor in that we also have like image variation cards, and those have one of ones.
yeah.
And then
Insert
it
cards and
just
on
seems
and
like
on.
there's yeah. So you start doing a lot of that. It's like, you know what? The one of ones here don't seem to be as rare as I thought they were going to be. Um, Maybe part of that also too is that we live in a market now that just can't sustain that kind of level. I don't know, but again, we're going to find out this summer. I think we have a monumental wrestling all-star set coming out from Mr. David Pex on Heritage, I believe. That's going to set the wrestling world on fire, I think, when it comes to just how popular wrestling cards are now.
Yeah, that's going to be something. And the more information coming
But
out.
I agree with you. I think that we are. I don't know if it's an oversaturated market. No, I don't think it's an oversaturated market. Um, I think it's a combination of modern versus vintage versus um, uh, who the characters are. I think
Yeah.
Rock is still going to command probably the top dollars when it comes to modern stuff.
Yeah, like I mean, we don't
Um,
have the Logan Paul yet, but here's what's interesting about these new Cactus Jack WrestleMania release that came out that were like uber expensive and the base cards were
sure.
going for several hundred bucks a piece. The biggest cards in those are the Travis Scott cards. And you and I kind of had a chuckle about that because I said, well, wait a minute, you can go buy an 8x10 Travis Scott for like 150 bucks somewhere, but
Yeah.
it seems to me, and like I don't want to show my age, and a lot of people are belly aching about a guy like Travis Scott being in the main event of the second night of WrestleMania and being the difference maker. And I'm like, you know what? He brings in the eyeballs, and that's what it is. And there's a conversation now about wrestling. Are they, I don't like to use the word prostitution, but are they whoring themselves out to get as many eyeballs as possible, and in the meantime degrading the product? That's what I'm
That's
asking.
never that's always been the case though. We
Yeah,
had
no, that's what I'm
Tyson
asking
coming
about
in.
Fox.
We've
Are they
had
going
we've
to,
had
are they
Muhammad
going to
Ali coming in.
Yes,
I
we've
mean,
always had
Jesus
guests.
Christ, in the early days, that's what rock and
But the
wrestling was all
guests, but
about.
the celebrities now are all based on YouTube celebrity, right? So if you bring a
Well,
lot of
that's the
people like,
market we live in now. That's the world we
yeah,
live in now. Those are people.
yeah,
I
and
mean,
speed
in the
brings
80s, it
in,
was all about rock and roll.
yes, yes. But that's my question with Tops now, and they're doing some wonderful things. Obviously, Fanatics has got it figured out with the advertising on Raw and all that stuff and all the surplus stuff that they've done. But are they cannibalizing the top end market by doing this? My answer is clearly yeah, because we had the tops now of the three of them. Everyone said this is going to be the record-breaking card. It's not going to be. Nothing from this set is going to be. When we get to the royalty or transcendent or whatever they're going to call their high end, will that one be the one? Will it be The Rock or will it be Logan Paul or will it be Mr. Beast, who I understand now is the biggest name on YouTube and hasn't made his way to a wrestling ring yet, but he probably will show up eventually. I get that times are changing. I get that it's a business, especially now with Ari Emanuel running it. Not that it wasn't with Vince, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a machine. It's a juggernaut. Um, it's just an interesting topic to me that we track this stuff. We track the high-end prices, and I'm not sure that we're going to see a modern record. I do think that we're going to see more stuff happen back on Hogan's. Ben was with us the other day holding his Hogan
Yeah.
9. There's a couple other ones out there. Those are the ones that I have my eye on. And again, in time, we like I say, you never know what's going to happen tomorrow, but I think that there's too many Rock autographs already. Never mind what's going to happen in all these new releases that are coming out.
Which is funny because there's probably even more Hogan autographs.
Yeah, but
No, it's not even probably.
But not
It's
on
not
a
even a
one
probably.
set. But not on a
It's
one
in
set though.
emphatically.
Not force fed down our throats in a period of 3 months. When you go to, all the Hogan's, not just the autograph stuff, but just the valuable Hogan stuff. That it spans a lot of time. We're going back to the 80s, right up to the PMGs. And even modern Hogan sells in a big way. So Hogan has won that war. That's a word people don't like to hear these days. Some people say Hogan, it's like, oh no, Hulk Hogan, you can't say that because he's this, because he's that. So well, I'm talking in the wrestling card world. Hulk Hogan rules the wrestling world. That's not going to change anytime
On
soon.
the flip side, I can argue that on the flip side by saying I can pick up a Hogan autograph card for a couple $100.
Yeah,
I can't do that with The Rock.
not yet.
Not yet. You're right. But I also don't have 30 years of signing autographs like
Yeah, like
Hogan
don't
does.
forget Hogan and TNA signed for like a bunch of those sets. Don't forget that
That's
Hogan.
just TNA, dude. That's just TNA.
Yeah,
He signed a
The
ton for
Rock hadn't
Tops
signed
too.
anything. The Rock signed the one
A ton
comic
for Panini.
images. Yeah, The Rock didn't sign anything until now, and even the Leaf stuff was his Dwayne Johnson. So that's what the excitement was that there wasn't a glut of product. And I understand the business philosophy, but ultimately it's what the market bears. And
Sure.
God bless Tancredi for being the first guy out and probably making the most amount of money. Um, but each subsequent version of a rock that's supposed to be something is going to be a little bit less in my mind, just because of the volume of it. And yeah, I get your point that there's a boatload of Hogans, but there's a boatload of Hogans that have consistently come out from the 80s through to present day. Like, by the time we got to 99 or 98 WCW, he's 18 years in at that point, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but the
But
market,
there was no official autograph up until that point for him.
that was the first official autograph, yes.
Official autograph. And since then we've had easily 10-1 Hogan cards versus Rock cards and far as autographs have been released by a major distribution.
Yes. But we're
So the saturation, then I can argue that the saturation is on the Hogan side, then not the Rock side.
well, for autographs, I'm talking autographs specifically. I'm not talking about Hogan cards. There's a billion Hogan
I'm
cards.
talking about autographs.
Yeah, when we get to the high end, well, yeah, you can't compare the Hogan autographs to the Rock autographs. The Rock autographs win, but we're talking about the Hogan card. That your Cosmos, the Poppy card, the All Star
Sure.
card, the '85 Tops card, right? Then we get to the WCW autograph. Um, you know, it just that's not an oversaturation when it's happened over so long. Whereas we were excited about these Rock autographs coming. We thought, oh, there's only going to be a handful of them, and they're going to be worth a fortune. But there wasn't a handful of them. There was a truckload of them.
But again, you're mixing regular base cards of a person with the autograph cards. Let's just talk strictly about autograph cards only. Take out the 82 top, 82 All Stars. Take out the 85 top. We're not talking about those. We're talking about autographs only.
No, I'm talking about the Rock.
Hogan's got 10-1 on him when it comes
Sure.
to the quantities like that. So the oversaturation on the Hogan side, not the Rock side.
Right, but a market gets oversaturated in a finite amount of time. So if all of a sudden
Sure.
you have 10 years to release product into the market, but we're talking something that came out in January, this is now April, and we were all
So let's wait 10
anticipating.
years now from now and see where we're at that time too.
Correct. But
So
if
that's where
if
we get
these
a
last
true
3 months are
valuation.
any indication of the volume of stuff that we're going to get, and we know that there's more coming and more coming after that, and that's going to be their top name until they find more social media stars with a
I
lot of
mean,
views.
when the WCW Hogan card came out, you could pick that up for a couple $100 too when it came out.
You could pick up anybody for $10. I used to buy those
For
cards
the
for 10,
most part,
15
yeah.
bucks a
Well,
piece.
the low ends, but the Hogans were going for still commanding
Yeah,
some money.
sure, sure. But my point is that now you can't buy those cards for that cheap. None of them.
No.
Like the
So that's why I'm,
least expensive
and
one
that
is
also feeds into my point. That feeds into
Tom
my
and those
point.
guys.
Let's wait 10 years to find out what this oversaturation in the 3 month span happens in 10 years.
Yeah. My guess is that as fast as they've been releasing these things, they'll continue to do so because the market will eat them up. And
I
there's
guess
nothing
we're going to find out. I guess we're going to find out in Dynasty. We'll find out in
loyalty.
Finest when these come out. Are there going to be rock autographs in those?
I hope not. I
I
hope not
hope
in
not
every
too.
release, right? I
Yeah.
hope not in every release. Just imagine if, throughout the entire Topps era, that's why there's a lot of people that signed a lot of cards. Like Nash used to sign a lot of cards. There's probably like
Yep.
30 Nash autographs. You know what I mean? I'm hoping that he's a little more sparing with them to keep the value
Me
up.
too.
There's nothing to sneeze at when you say that these are three, four, $5,000 autographs, and a lot of them are, right?
Yeah.
But my question is that we're talking about the high end, the six-figure cards, right? And we were
Yeah.
expecting because the Black Prism is still the number two of all time.
Yeah.
It'll eventually be pushed down further. And again, you know, um, who knows? We
And to
can't.
me, that's a good sign. I like it that it's going to be pushed down further, not because of what it is, just because of the fact that it just shows it's a healthy market for wrestling cards.
Yeah, sure, sure, yeah.
Yeah, when we start seeing more six-figure cards, it's just, we're going to have some more serious players, probably people who aren't normally wrestling card
But
collectors.
it's got to be
They're going to come
rare.
into the market.
If there was one, like if the Ric Flair WCW came up today, I want it, Ben wants it, Graven wants it, Peck wants it, everybody wants it. Plus, God knows, that could be the most valuable card out there. Seriously, so,
Could be.
and it has to do with quantity. It's the only one. Now, if we only had a handful of rock cards come out in this first release, wonderful. But there's been a lot. There's been a lot relative to what we were expecting, and there's going to be more. And by the end of the year, we don't have to wait 10 years. When we do our year-end wrap-up, sure, when we count down the top 10, it's going to be a bunch of rock autographs, but there's going to be a whole boatload more that don't make the list, right? And then we'll get
Yeah.
to the point where the comic images raw, which is about 15 to 1800 bucks, you'll be able to buy modern product for less than that.
You think so in the autograph wise?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You think that we're going to be able to find a modern rock autograph for under $1,000?
Maybe not under 1,000, but I don't think the comic images is going to be the least expensive one anymore.
That's going to be a tough call. I'm going to probably say somewhere around even. I think that that's the floor. So
Yeah.
I think that for comic images stuff, if it's a $1,500 autograph is your low end, that's what's going to be your low end when it comes to modern stuff
Not
too.
if they keep cranking them out, Tony. If we get
Well,
six, if
the
we
level they're
get
cranking them out, I think there's still probably. I mean, what's the total number we can think of? What's the highest numbered autograph card there is of rock cards right now? Because they're all numbered.
I don't know. I don't know.
Is it number to 25? Is there a number to 50? Number to 100? Number to 140, 49? I mean, what's the highest numbered
Are these
autograph cards?
numbers,
I've never seen.
do we even get these numbers?
No, they're numbered on the card themselves. One
I
of
don't know. Yeah,
55.
we'd have to look at each variation, how
What's
many.
the highest serial numbered rock card there is? Is there a blue numbered to 149? Is 50 the highest number?
No, that's what we'd have to determine, right? But
Because the
there's
lowest
been,
number is a one of one.
but
What's
there's
the
been a
highest?
lot, like I thought there was going to be one of one, you know. But there's been a bunch.
Yeah,
And
because of all the different cards he's on.
correct, right? And the tops now and all this stuff. The same thing with the Travis Scott and John Cena, the turn card, that was going to be the one that was going to. Now we don't know what happens with that. Maybe because it is a true one of one, that does happen, but it's not going to happen with any of these rock cards out of this first
Well, I
Chrome.
can tell you one thing. None of these cards, we'll wrap it up right here, but I'll tell you one thing. None of these cards, he ain't the Pope.
The Pope beats them all. What did the Pope do? A half a million or something silly like that?
I think the
Good on
Pope did
him.
it. Pope did it 130, 155,000.
Beautiful. He was a wrestling
Yeah.
fan. I read that he was at a show in Chicago a couple years ago. Just a
Or
dude that
was
would have
he?
been sitting beside me and you, religious guy. The guy becomes a pope. How awesome is that?
Uh, Pope says,
Yeah, yeah.
All right, with that,
So anyways,
yeah, the
guys,
Pope said,
love to hear your thoughts on this, like what are your thoughts on not just the rock, but just the amount of autographs that we're seeing these days in general? You think there are too many of them just to run about, or you think we could use more? Interesting topic.
yeah, I mean, the argument gets made both ways. Like, I used to love my Undertaker autograph because it was so rare. Now
Yeah,
it's like you can find them all over the place. It's like, well, it's kind of a fine line between, what maintains value versus what maintain is presented to you for availability. And
right.
and the companies themselves aren't cranking out cards with the notation in their heads going, oh, well, we need to limit this because we want to make sure it's valuable. We want to make sure they
Yeah,
don't
I
give a
get it.
shit. They
I
want to
get
just
it. What
pump it
happens
out
in
and
the
have you buy
aftermarket
it.
is not their concern.
Yeah. And as long as it clears their warehouse, it's a sellout.
But just to be clear, I'm talking about the top end, the pinnacle of our hobby, the top numbers. Which card,
Yep.
what's going to be the card to unseat the $132,000 Hogan 9? Another
Well, I'll tell you,
Hogan
it's
9.
going to at this point in the rate it goes, looking at your top 10 over on the Wrestling Card Price Guy website, it's going to be another Hogan card that
Yeah,
tops it.
I think so. I think so. Others will say that we're not like, oh, no, no, we don't get it. We don't know modern. We don't. Okay, we'll see.
That's okay, man. I mean, as a someone so eloquently posts all the time, time will tell.
Yeah. Stay
Time will
stay
tell.
tuned, everybody.
Stay tuned. All right, guys, make sure you follow the channel. Make sure you follow Paul. Make sure you follow I over on social media. And we'd like to hear your comments, man.
Thanks, Tony. See you soon.
Hi, man.